ES Audio.
From the Evening Standard in London, I'm John Weeks, and this is The Leader. London Fashion Week is back. A plethora of celebs made an appearance, including Sienna Miller, who debuted her baby bump in a Schiaparelli two-piece at Condé Nast's Vogue World event at the Theatre Drury Lane. Also, the likes of Kate Winslet, Stormzy, Victoria Beckham and Princess Beatrice were all present for the hour-long performance, featuring the London Musical Theatre Orchestra, Stormzy himself, and a finale by Annie Lennox, featuring Cindy Crawford, Naomi Campbell, Christy Turlington, and Linda Evangelista. And it was a pricey event to be at. Guests paid between £160 and £600 for tickets. But proceeds will be donated to a selection of arts and cultural organisations, including the Royal Ballet, National Theatre and National Youth Orchestra. This September's London Showcase, which continues through until Tuesday, comes amid a continuing cost of living struggle in the capital. It's something impacting the people of London, as well as some of the independent designers too, who are finding more sustainable and innovative ways to develop their products and creations as a result. Caroline Rush, CEO of the British Fashion Council, recently revealed that the cost of living crisis is having an impact and called the trading environment for businesses challenging. She said brands that would normally support young designer shows have pulled back on their marketing spend, which means that independent creative businesses with tiny teams are having to be more resourceful than ever. There was some good news for up-and-coming designers this week, though. On Wednesday, the government announced £2 million will go towards the ongoing British Fashion Council New Gen programme, which supports emerging designers. Plus, Caroline explains that often in the hardest of times, creativity explodes even further, saying that designers in London are challenging the norms of what's happening elsewhere in the world. So, how much does London Fashion Week really do for the capital in terms of both the profile for the city and the economic boost that comes with it? Joining me now is Victoria Moss, the Evening Standard's fashion director. So, Victoria, London Fashion Week kicked off last night. Who was there and what sort of statement did it make?
So Vogue World took over Covent Garden last night in this really quite spectacular way. They took over the Theatre Drury Lane, where Frozen is normally the big show there. So there's normally just surrounded by lots of small little girls wearing Elsa dresses. But they'd blocked off all the streets around there, and they had a big, huge red carpet with sort of roses everywhere. Sienna Miller was there in this incredible Schiaparelli two-piece with her sort of pregnancy bump on show. Obviously, Edward Enninful, the editor of Vogue, and Anna Wintour, the editor of American Vogue, were there greeting everybody with Baz Luhrmann. Jodie Turner-Smith was there, Victoria Beckham, Stormzy, Alexa Chung, kind of every London fashion designer you can think of. It was a very buzzy, starry affair. And Kate Winslet, she was there. I mean, there was endless people.
And as part of London Fashion Week, or this September's London Fashion Week anyway, I understand Burberry has taken over Bond Street, but also other parts of London. What sort of transformation has Burberry carried out in London? So
Burberry their creative director, Daniel Lee, is going to show his second collection on Monday. And so his first collection, which he showed last Fashion Week, is now on sale. So Burberry have really kind of painted the town Burberry blue. They have taken over Norman's Cafe in Tufnell Park. They have turned Bond Street Tube Station into Burberry Street Station for the duration of London Fashion Week. They've also got flags up and all over Bond Street. They're doing sort of sketching and stenciling on the pavements and streets all around London. And then also they've got a Norman's food truck, which is going to be on 180 The Strand and at Duke of York Square, serving up sort of chips and eggs with Burberry branding all over it.
And in terms of the sort of homegrown and emerging designers, who should we be keeping an eye out for this London Fashion Week?
So one of the designers that I'm really excited to see is Sinead O'Dwyer, who is showing tomorrow on Saturday. And she's a really interesting designer in that she is totally changing the way that clothes are kind of created from the inception. So she starts all her sampling on a size 24, which is incredibly unusual for any designer to do that. And her collections run, from a size 6 up to a 30, I believe. So she's really kind of changing that conversation around models and inclusivity and also just in creating clothes that are designed for different shaped bodies rather than just sizing up from a size 6 sample, which is what most designers do. And then the hot ticket tomorrow night is going to be Skepta's main show, which is his label, which has been dormant for 4 years. So that is kind of the buzziest front row, in theory. Everyone's going to be piling into that. And then Ashish, who hasn't shown since before the pandemic, he is coming back as well on Monday, which will be, I'm sure, a really beautiful, exciting show.
Let's take a break now. In part 2, Victoria explains how designers are adapting to the cost of living crisis.
The great thing about London is it's this sort of amazing creative hotbed, and there is that sort of parallel that in tough times, creativity really comes to the fore, and they have to be really resourceful.
And she discusses just how much London Fashion Week does for the capital.
The buzz that London Fashion Week creates for the city, I think that's really important as well. It really underscores our standing as this kind of hugely creative, exciting hub where people want to be.
We'll be back after a short break. Obviously, this year's September show comes amid an ongoing cost of living crisis, really. How are designers themselves dealing with that?
I think especially London is full of really young, independent designers who are obviously feeling the impact of that, and especially with Brexit and importing and exporting production in and out of the country. But I think the great thing about London is it's this sort of amazing creative hotbed, and there is that sort of parallel that in tough times, creativity really comes to the fore, and they have to be really resourceful, and they have to kind of find ways to do things. There's a huge amount of designers who use upcycled and recycled materials, so they're not buying into new fabrics. And the sort of issues around sustainability, I think in London are really being addressed quite presciently. There's brands like Connor Ives, who makes lots of his clothes out of old vintage T-shirts. There's Ankuta Sarkar, who creates these incredible heels from old football boots. And there's many more as well who are really just being clever and being resourceful, and also sort of future-proofing their businesses by thinking about producing and creating in a new, more viable way.
Can you put it into words, really, just how significant London Fashion Week is to the capital in terms of how it benefits the economy, but also really the city's image?
So, the British fashion industry employs nearly 900,000 people and directly contributes around £21 billion to the economy. So in terms of London Fashion Week being a showcase for that, it's incredibly important, economically as much as anything. And I think in terms of the buzz that London Fashion Week creates for the city, I think that's really important as well. It really underscores our standing as this kind of hugely creative, exciting hub where people want to be. And I think this fashion week, there's about 5 or 6 parties tonight on Friday. There's so many things happening, which I think is a real testament to the importance people hold and the relevance of London. Vogue World was here last night. Tonight, Stephen Meisel is taking over Dover Street Market for his book launch with Linda Evangelista and all the supermodels. Kate Moss is doing a dinner. Rita Ora is launching a collection with Primark. There's endless things happening and launching, and it just kind of shows the attention that this city garners, and that's down to the Fashion Week.
Pick up the Evening Standard newspaper for more news, interviews and analysis, or head to standard.co.uk. That's The Leader. Thanks for listening. We're back on Monday afternoon at 4 o'clock.